Guess what today is?
I know what today is.
Come here. TJ, guess what today is? You got to come to me right here.
Oh my God.
Do we have this camera, TJ? Do we have this camera?
No, we don't. I don't.
Oh, you got me here. I'm looking here.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Guess what? Do you know, here's a crazy thing. My first day in television. And I'm so excited. I've never done this before. Donnie, do you know what today is?
Is it anybody's birthday?
Rev, do you know what today is?
No, I have no idea.
I know what today is.
Game 6.
Game 6, exactly.
Please come sit down.
Of the Knicks, breaking everybody's heart again. It's Mika's birthday! A huge day, is it not? How are you? Good to see you.
Right here.
Should we sing? Should we sing?
Is he dressed?
Happy birthday.
Oh my God.
you.
God.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mika. Happy birthday to
I'm not supposed to drink this anymore.
Let's all go around and talk about something.
I'm at
Tell
a
us, what
very
do you like
boring
about
age.
Mika the most, Donnie?
What I like about Mika
Yeah.
is she is so able to put you in your place in such a graceful,
That is such
elegant
a wonderful
way,
trait to
and
have.
it just shows the power of her and the power of women.
You know, I think actually,
Wow.
Donnie, that's just specifically you.
That was.
I think when he said you, he meant specifically you.
But,
yeah, I don't think he meant just she puts one in
guys,
their
this is a
place.
boring age. We should kind of skip this one, I think. 57.
Rev,
I don't know.
That's
I'm not-
fine.
Like,
What do you
it's a
like the
fine
most
age.
about
I'm good with
Mika?
it.
What I ketchup like is. most.
It's the
What I
cat.
like
Ketchup
most.
is. Rev, if you should talk about what he likes
I
so
think
much.
right.
what I like most about Mika is she has this unusual way of making you feel you're in charge when we all know better.
Exactly.
We're all kind of saying the same thing.
You're
It's
in
interesting.
charge.
True. Am I in charge, honey?
Yeah.
It's so funny. People will come
Don't call
up
me
and they'll
that.
say, Joe should have let Mika do more on the air. And Mika's like, Joe does. She's like, I'm
Happy
the
birthday.
puppet master.
Cute.
Yeah, that's
People
great.
are texting. All right, let's stop this now.
And no, I
wanna
haven't even
say-
gone to Joe.
Okay, so
What's
Mika,
your
my favorite thing,
part of
she
Mika?
walks the walk when it comes to helping women and gives you the best advice. I mean, I can text her at any moment to be like, do I wear this? Do I not wear this? Do I ask for this? Do I not ask for this? And she will tell you hard truths, but she does it with a lot of kindness and,
That is really
you
something
just like,
about
man,
her
she is
is-
someone you can rely on her.
You
Yeah.
know
This
that
is
when you text her
weird.
or you ask her, she's going to tell you the truth.
She's going to tell you the truth, so be
And it
ready for
helps.
it. Yeah, and it helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you don't want the truth.
Okay.
Richard?
Oh my God.
I really appreciate Mika's enthusiasm for when we talk about sports.
Right.
It's one of the reasons I really like coming on the show. It's her commitment to long conversations about
Insulting.
the latest in sports.
Are the Knicks going to lose?
Oh, Joe, we so don't want to go there. I needed grief counseling the other day, Joe.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's tough.
You know, I thought you were in a bad mood this morning. I don't know what happened.
I'm never in a bad mood.
Yeah. Okay.
The
He was
newspaper
in
of
such a
record.
bad mood.
They never missed. They never
Our
missed.
Morning,
coffee,
Joe.
just
They have to buy up their
coffee
seats to keep
situation.
Knicks
This
fans
Starbucks
out of
is
the-
no good
out of the
anymore.
arena.
Yeah.
It is burned, no matter where you buy it. New York, Maine,
really?
Florida is burned.
Starbucks?
Something's wrong with it. And it's too
And happy
expensive.
birthday to you.
And Susie Orman told me never to buy Starbucks again. So
See what
thank you,
happened to
NBC, for getting me
She went up to the
this.
stock yesterday?
But we're not
Starbucks?
doing it.
What happened?
Lost, over 15%?
It tastes different.
Is it because they burn Mika's coffee?
DM me.
This is a market signal. yes.
DM me if you think that Starbucks tastes burned and like day old. Okay.
Wow.
The host of Way Too Early.
This is
I
good.
always
This
love that.
is good.
I've always
There
loved
goes
that.
Starbucks.
The Dunkin' is great.
Happy
Expensive
birthday.
opening.
I'm
to
just
you,
telling you,
my friend.
it's the truth. I actually was driving to Starbucks all over a certain part of Florida, and
Wow.
now I did
Okay,
it here.
hold on.
And I was in D.C., and
Hold
it's
on.
all burned or day old.
Sweetie.
Or they've changed something.
Who do you wake up at 5:30 on Saturday and Sunday morning to drive all over
You.
Florida to get Starbucks?
Well, you get it for me, so
Exactly.
that's true. So it doesn't taste.
So I bring it back. 5:40. How's this, dear? It's burned. Go to another
Awful.
one. Yes, ma'am.
So forget it.
By 10
And
o'clock,
I have a nice
we
coffee
usually have
machine
a-
by Breville, and I make it myself.
Wow.
And that's what I should have been doing for years.
She's-
And if I had listened to Susie Orman,
Susie's right.
I would have saved a lot of money.
Susie's always right.
Okay. The host of Way Too Early, White House Bureau Chief Politico, Jonathan Lemire, is here. Hi, Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Happy birthday, Mika.
We need to
There you
talk.
go. Jonathan.
It's time, Jonathan.
What-
It's time.
What's time for?
He's just, it's he's way too early is way too early for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You saying we're ready to let
It's
him
time.
graduate to doing
Yeah.
sports at 5:45
No.
and getting somebody else to start
We
at
need
6?
him here, and we'll figure something else
By
out.
the way, we'll be very quick because it's Mika's birthday. The Red Sox pitching, Jonathan Lemire.
The best present she could get. The Red Sox pitching has been historic. It's the best,
Wow.
considering a team of a rotation of more or less no-name starters coming into the season. They've been terrific. Credit to the new pitching coach, Andrew Bailey. And this Red Sox team, Joe, you and I have been talking about it a daily basis. Surprising and fun, and at least so far, successful.
Well, and Mika,
right.
that is my birthday
Gift to
present
me.
to
Thank you. Can we stop?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Donald, we're going to the news now. There's no one else to introduce. It's just us.
Okay.
Family at the table. Donald Trump will not commit to accepting the results of the 2024 election. In an interview with the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, the former president repeated his lies that the 2020 election was stolen from him. So we talked about this yesterday, and we were so, I think the word is shook, that we have decided to go back in way deeper. Oh, this is a new one, according to Alex. Okay, so this is the New York Times. When asked about this November, he said, quote, if everything is honest, I'll gladly accept the results. I don't change on that. If it's not, you have to fight for the right of the country.
This is Milwaukee Journal. And Richard Haas, people across the world look to the United States and have always looked up to the United States. Donald Trump certainly changed that in many ways, but January 6th, as you've always said to me, it just shook our neighbors, just like it shook us. And now you have him once again, a guy who is a favorite in a lot of polls, saying, I will not accept the results of the election
So yesterday was
unless
the
I win.
timepiece, and today it's the Milwaukee Journal.
One of the defining
Get it straight.
hallmarks of American democracy everywhere in the world was the peaceful transfer of power. When the former president and the guy who maybe beat him drive down Pennsylvania Avenue and you have the peaceful transfer, what a great demonstration that is of commitment to democracy, the rule of law, to accepting that norm. And what Donald Trump right here has done two things. One is he's essentially saying, I only support it if I win, because there's no history of rigged elections, essentially.
No.
And second of all, the threat of political violence. That is out there. I mean, we have 75 days between Election Day and inauguration. And that's when January 6th happened last time, in that 2.5-month period. That is the precarious moment for our democracy. It not only distracts us, divides, but imagine what our foes are going to think.
Right.
If we are having a contested situation, and we are literally have a return of political violence. Or imagine, Joe, you have several governors or state legislatures saying, we don't actually agree with that. We're going to send this set of electors to Washington.
Right.
We could have that this time.
Well, and Donnie, that's the thing. The system did hold last time. The courts held last time. The state legislatures held last time. But, you know, just like the timepiece yesterday suggested, Donald Trump and people around him are figuring out how to subvert democracy if he doesn't win. And let me say that slowly, so his apologists, who will write this in an op-ed, laughing, oh, they're saying Donald Trump. No, Donald Trump's own words say. They don't suggest, they say he will subvert democracy if he doesn't win. And if he does win, it'll be worse.
Yeah.
He will subvert democracy more. He will fire prosecutors who will not arrest his political opponents. He said it.
He says what he's going to do. What he's going to do, to your point, Joe, is have the FCC report to him, so he will be able to control shows like this. He wants the FTC to report to him. He wants to bring the Insurrection Act back so he can turn military troops on his own people. He wants to weaponize, as you said, the Justice Department to go after his enemies. He wants to put women on a registry in red states for abortion.
Monitor
That's if he wins.
So hold on 1 second. So what you just said, somebody out in the Trump sort of stratosphere will put on a website and say, look at Donnie Deutsch freaking out, right? And that's their ploy. That's the lie. And I will say, I love the Wall Street Journal editorial page. I disagree with them a lot, but they will have people like writing op-eds that would take what you just said and lie to their readers. They lie to their readers and say, look at the media. And I've read more of this. The media are being hyperbolic. No. All you're doing is repeating his words. When we repeat his words, when I repeat his words as a conservative, and I think you found out this past week, I'm a conservative. Like, live by the law, whether it's on college campuses, whether it's at the border, or whether you're a president of the United States that lost an election. Live by the law, right? I'm a conservative, right? You're a liberal. Traditional,
I'm not a liberal.
You're a traditional liberal. Now called a moderate. Now called a moderate.
Okay, right.
Now called a moderate.
Okay.
I didn't say progressive, but you're a traditional liberal. And we just read the words on the page. We report it. But the Trump right and the Trump media will say, Donnie's losing his mind. They have Trump derangement syndrome.
I deal with it every day.
But what did you just do?
I just used his words.
You just repeated his words.
The final words he said, and once again, I just talked about if he wins. If he loses, he will tell people to take to the streets with violence. He's telling you.
Well,
He's telling us. So if he wins, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
If he loses, we're in trouble.
That's where we're going next. Those comments come following what he told Time magazine about whether he is concerned about violence stemming from the outcome of this year's vote, especially if he doesn't win. He answered, quote, "If we don't win, it depends. It always depends on the fairness of an election."
Rev, are you worried about violence? And every political person that loves this country would have said, the answer to that, and look throughout history, would say, no, I'm not worried about violence because I'm going to speak out against violence and my people will not be violent. We will accept the results of the election. Everybody says that. Donald Trump is now saying, well, it depends.
Saying
maybe we'll be violent. Maybe.
Saying it depends, saying his reaction is based on whether it's a fair election. But who determines what's fair? He does. He is spelling out, I believe in an autocracy. I will decide if it's fair. I will decide how I will respond to violence. As someone that is running to be the head of state again, to saying it depends, at this kind of instability we can't afford to have, no matter who the candidates are. Can you imagine in anywhere else in the world this would happen? We would be denouncing that person that is trying to be head of state. And here we have it right here, and we're acting like this is a normal race where you have one person in the race that could win.
Right.
Saying, if I determine it's fair, it's fair. If I don't, it's not. And violence, it depends on what I say. This is not what this country is supposed to be about, and we shouldn't tolerate it.
Jen, there's a stereotype of the Trump voter that the media does. Oh, people are stumbling drunk out of their, trailer park and, shooting raccoons or something like that. No, it's bankers. It's lawyers. It's people with advanced degrees. This is something Anne Applebaum brought out so masterfully in her book, The Twilight of Democracy, which is, the elites make this possible. Think about all the billionaires that, I'll never vote for Trump. And now like, yeah, I'll vote for Donald Trump. They know this. They read this. They read that Donald Trump says that there's going to be mass deportation. He's going to force prosecutors to arrest political enemies. He's going to execute generals that don't follow his commands. He's able to use SEAL Team 6 to execute political opponents. And he says, you can't arrest me for that. You can go down the list. He's going to be a dictator from day one. He's going to terminate the Constitution. On and on. They've heard all of this. They heard what he said to Time magazine a couple of days ago. It is a dark, autocratic vision of America. And these people, these educated people with advanced degrees, are the ones saying, yeah, I'll support Donald Trump again. Thinking, oh, well, you know what, maybe my investments will go, or maybe he won't tax me 3%. Not understanding that this is not just a threat to democracy, but this is a threat to capitalism.
Right. Well, then that's the thing that makes me think maybe they will reconsider if they continue to hear him say.
They don't get that. They don't see it that way.
They will not
They
make
get
that
what Joe
connection.
just said. They don't get how it could affect them negatively.
They don't think that that's going to affect
They
business.
just don't
the
think it's
business
going to
climate.
happen.
They think that's
But
just
there are the 20% of people in Republican primaries who still are not voting for him. You know, and there's the people that say that they were worried about Jan 6. There's the
Right.
people that, you know, that the Republicans against Trump, that those videos about people who voted for him twice because of Jan 6 are not going to do it a third time. And, you know, keep doing these interviews, keep saying this.
Right.
You know, it's like Proud Boys stand
yet
back and stand by.
You look
and
at the polls.
I know.
I mean, a lot of swing state polls, if you're talking about Nevada, if you're talking about Georgia, if you're talking about North Carolina, they're not even close.
Here's Trump
way
in
ahead.
September of
Despite all this.
2020. September of 2020. Take a look.
Will you commit to making sure that there is a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots, and the ballots are a disaster.
You know, Chris Christie said that Donald Trump started in the spring of 2020, started lying, going, you know, this election may be rigged. And he said he could see in his mind that he knew he was going to probably lose. And he started in spring of 2020 trying to find an excuse for losing to Joe Biden.
Right, he's only saying if it's fair, it's okay, but by definition, if he loses, it can't be fair.
If he wins, it's fair. If he loses, it's
and
not
can I say,
fair.
what Jen said, the business thing. Why do people invest in this country? Why does our economy do so well? It's because there's the rule of law. You understand that it's a safe place to invest. People can go to work. Consumers can consume. What business leaders are missing here is how much is at stake that the comparative advantage of the United States and the American economy depends on the rule of law being paramount. If we no longer have that, they are kidding themselves if they think they can flourish.
So speaking of rule of law, before I get to this list put together by the reporter Eric Cortellessa on the report that came out yesterday from Time Magazine, we'll go live to UCLA on the campus there. Police are moving these protesters out. There's an encampment. There are student protesters, we believe. There also may be outside agitators, and I'll put that in quotes. But we'll monitor this and see how it unfolds. But they are apparently trying to break up the encampment, which I believe was negotiations for several days now. This is happening at campuses across the country. This one's a little bit larger, a little bit more like Columbia was before they dispersed it. So we will monitor this situation and come back to it as necessary.
Johnny, what are your thoughts?
As I'm watching this, there's two thoughts that come to my head. First of all, I'd like to know where their parents are. You know, we haven't talked about
Well, I'd
the
like to
parents
know who they are.
who these parents are.
I'd like to know
Wait,
who these
hold on. Can we
people
back
are.
up first and ask who these people are? Because there are a lot of these people who
That
are
are
not
not
students.
students,
They
yes.
are not students. And by the way, I when people email me, I try to read as many emails as I can. And I swear to God, the theme of so many are, Joe, these are students. I believe the children are the future. Teach them well. And I'm like, and I write back and say, thank you so much for watching the show. You mean the world to me. These are not all students.
Well,
this
wait.
is organized. It's across
It's
the
organized.
nation. And by the way, we all have students. We all know students. We have all talked to our students that these are not all students.
They're not all students, they're outside agitators.
find out.
I also want to put this against the backdrop of the vote yesterday on anti-Semitism in Congress, that it was 320 yeas and 91 people voted against a simple bill to protect against anti-Semitism. And what's interesting, that's about 1 in 4. The same numbers that Jonathan Greenblatt and ADL have come out and said that 1 in 4 Americans have anti-Semitic beliefs. So Congress is very representative of Americans.
Right.
Rev.
But I think that what is very, very alarming to me, who's been involved in civil rights and civil
Well,
disobedience.
and by the way, you walk the walk. You talk the talk. I remember in 2001, Vieques and
Right.
Puerto Rico, something that you believed in. It was civil disobedience in the greatest tradition of Martin Luther King. And yes, you broke the law to make a bigger point. You got sent to jail. And guess what? You weren't saying, I want my meal plan. I won't. You said this is worth the fight. This is worth the sacrifice. And guess what? You and others who protested, you changed American policy.
We were protesting the Navy bombing in Vieques, and we were able to stop it. I did 90 days in jail.
You came out, by the way, you came out thinner too, my man.
I went on a diet.
That was the beginning.
No, I went on a fast. but that is what bothers me. Anytime what you are protesting for becomes secondary to what you are doing, then you're really not protesting for it. And you, in many ways, dramatize what we did in Vieques, what I did later in other situations, was to bring attention to it. And what's troubling me about a lot of this is they become the cause. It's about them. It is not about pushing the cause. They need to ask themselves if they were sincere. Are you really focusing on what's going on in Gaza, about the children, about the women, about the innocent people, and in Israel? Are you focusing on whether or not you are violent or whether or not you can say the most incendiary statement? How are you guiding this? It's about them, and I think that they've lost the message, and I think that's because they've been infiltrated by people that are not there
That
for
is
them.
what I'm worried about.
Well, and that's what we're all worried about. And Jen, you look at these protests, and again, I'll just call it reporting on a lot of these demonstrations. They're Palestinians whose families have been killed in Gaza or whose families have been killed through the years. And we all certainly understand why they would want to be engaged. There are a lot of people that are just there. They are. I know this. You can email me if you want to. I know this. That are just there because they want to be part of something cool. There are outside agitators, and yes, there are some people there because they hate Jews. I'd like to say that's not the case. There's some people there because they hate Jews that weren't there because of Syria. They certainly weren't there when Russia kept killing civilians in Ukraine. I haven't seen them out there for the 2 million Uyghurs who are in concentration camps in China. And people go, oh, well, we're funding Israel. Yeah, guess what? When you go and you buy gas, you're directly or indirectly helping Russia. You're indirectly or directly helping Iran. When we trade and buy cheap products from China, you're helping China repress not only people in Hong Kong, you're helping China repress the Uyghurs, et cetera, et cetera. We could go down that path if you want. And so they're just, again, these people weren't here when 500,000 Arabs were killed in Syria. They're here now, though. Why? Because Jews are involved. But go ahead.
Well, yeah. In terms of it not being students, people really seem to question that. But the student leader from Columbia was in the New York Times saying this is an autonomous group that took over the hall, right? It's not as if we are projecting that these are not students. Like the student leader said, it is an autonomous group that did that. And I think the reporting that sort of helped put this in perspective. Jeremy Peters wrote a good piece yesterday because he went and interviewed a lot of protesters, and there are, we all have in our own lives, all of us are concerned about Gaza. We all have in our own lives, all the people that we know that are really concerned about Gaza. That's it's very sincere and it's very tragic. But what he identified was that these people had a lot, it was upset about how indigenous people are treated in general. It's upset about climate change. It was kind of this, sort of new world clash of ideologies that they were expressing there. That won't be limited to this issue, right? So even if this is what I'm thinking about, like, how does this affect the election? Where does this go to? Even if the Gaza conflict is resolved, you are likely to see, they may just move on to the next issue, which is sort of also, also your point, and that they will. But the thing that I'm processing, well, where does this go? How does this affect young people writ large?
Yeah.
I don't see young people writ large getting behind that kind of agenda. It's not going to resonate in their lives the way concerns about inflation, economy, student loans, student debt, things like that. I don't think that will resonate the way But, you know, like, this is great for Donald Trump.
Oh, he
All
loves
this is
it.
great for Donald Trump.
He loves this.
So we're looking at what's happening right now on the campus of UCLA, and you can see the police are working to try and disperse this encampment and even break it down. But just looking at Washington Post coverage right now, live coverage of things that are happening across the country, we have a situation at the City University of New York where arrests happened, University of Buffalo, Stony Brook University, UCLA, of course, 90 arrests on the campus of Dartmouth. And a State Department, somebody who quit the State Department, supports the protests, has canceled his appearance there. And it goes on. I mean, this is not just UCLA and Columbia. Portland State, the library looks destroyed from the pictures I'm looking here at the Washington Post, and it goes on and on. So right now, I think it's fair to say that we don't really know exactly how many students and outside agitators are involved and who the outside agitators even are. But it is questionable to believe that it would just be students in there doing this. Then your question, then your point that you were about to make, Donnie, is 100% correct, and we've got a problem. I would like to go to Jonathan Lemire if possible.
I just want to follow up, though, again, based on the student leader at Columbia, we don't have to ask if those were students in charge of taking over the building, because the student leader at Columbia said they were outside agitators.
An autonomous group. That's it.
All the tents were the same colors at a lot of
I
these
just want to
things.
wait
There's
until we
money
see the
coming in
arrests.
behind this, and the students are not paying for this.
And
that's my
I think
instinct.
I
I don't
think
feel
that-
comfortable about
I
this.
think we need to also bring up the violence, the vandalism. When you go into the Columbia Hall where they had destroyed property, what is that about? What is the point of that? That's not.
How's that going to help?
who are
really help the people
How's
of
that going to
Gaza?
help the people of Gaza?
Well,
Exactly.
no, but you're supposed to be protesting, and in my opinion, rightfully so, violence being reckless on either side.
Correct.
If you're going to do violence yourself to a building,
Correct.
that's where I, as one who engages
Where did they
now,
learn
in
that?
I'm leading marches now about DEI, and I'm looking at this saying, wait a minute,
Yeah.
you're tearing up walls
Yeah.
in the name of what?
Breaking
Children
windows?
in Gaza? No, there's some other element in here that is hijacking this from the
I
situation.
don't disagree. Jonathan Lemire, I'm assuming the Biden administration is watching this closely and trying to figure out a response as well, if there should be one at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, the Biden administration is certainly watching closely. The president himself, though, hasn't had much to say on this issue since these protests really kicked up in the last week or two. He spoke briefly last week saying, of course, there's no need for violence, and he understands those who are protesting peacefully about the situation in Gaza. He empathizes with that. A deputy press secretary put out a statement the other day when the building at Columbia University's campus was seized, saying that crossed the line, that the administration condemned that. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, asked yesterday about the matters at Columbia and other campuses, simply said the president was monitoring it. And to the point of your conversation a moment ago, yes, polls do suggest this is not a huge issue for most voters, and the political arm of the Biden world certainly watching that, but they also are deeply concerned about these images. First and foremost, just because there's violence, there could be people injured, but also because there is a fear that it could further alienate young people who associate Biden with Israel here and against the Palestinians, fair or not. That is a perception among some of the young. Also, just they feel like some independent swing voters simply turned off by these scenes of chaos. And certainly Donald Trump is trying to put the blame on Joe Biden for that, when we, of course, know the administration has nothing to do with scenes there on these campuses. But we should note the president is now, White House announced yesterday, going to deliver a major speech next week, Tuesday, at the Holocaust Memorial Museum commemoration. That'll be at the U.S. Capitol here in Washington, where he'll talk about the rise of anti-Semitism and denouncing that. And of course, we are seeing anti-Semitism as a major part of some of these protests being hijacked from the peaceful protesters in so many places. As we watched, again, live footage here at UCLA, a lot of smoke in the air. We're hearing some bangs. Unclear exactly what's happening as police try to clear
Right.
this
So
encampment.
the campus, the college is putting out word, UCLA, on Twitter. Campus operations will be limited tomorrow and Friday. Please continue to avoid campus and the Royce Squad area. Per academic Senate guidance on instruction, all in-person classes are authorized and required to pivot to remote tomorrow and Friday.
By the way,
remote.
time.
Yeah.
Exam time.
End of
And
the
you know
year,
what?
graduation
and people
time.
will go, oh, well, aren't you worried about? Yeah. We've expressed our concerns about Gaza, tearing up campuses, destroying property, breaking the law. That does not help one child in Gaza. That does not bring any supplies to Gaza. They understand this. This is all this does is it turns people away from the cause. And guess what? And they want us to talk about them, so we're talking about them instead of Benjamin Netanyahu and illegal settlements in the West Bank. And the fact that Netanyahu doesn't want the war to end, because when the war ends, he's out of office and he has indictments that could send him to jail. We're not talking about that, Donnie, because they want us to talk about them destroying property, young people. What's the line from Buffalo Springfield? Young people carrying signs, mostly saying hooray for our signs.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to help the people of Gaza? You know what? There are 1,000 better ways.
And I just want to say one thing going back to the Joe Biden
And I'm going to go to the
thing.
scene.
It's important. Joe Biden needs to speak out against this. I don't care about politics. I don't care about worrying about your left flank. I don't care about worrying about young people. Joe Biden needs to be a leader and come out and condemn in an explicit way what's going on here.
You know,
How it works is you got a 98% offset, okay? There's big gaps here is when you're selling a whole bunch of electricity back to the utility company.